Go ahead.
You probably know that the intelligence report, the one that was made public about Russia's alleged meddling in the U.S. election through leaks, does not provide any evidence for the public to see. The report claims high degree of confidence. Do you think the public should have the same high degree of confidence without seeing the evidence?
I don't think that we should be surprised that in an unclassified version of a highly classified assessment and report that we would be protecting sources and methods, and that all our intelligence communities came to the same basic conclusion over and over again, that they testified publicly to those conclusions last week, and that they backed up that testimony in private briefings to some members of Congress, as well as to President Obama and President-elect Trump, I think should give people confidence in their assessments. But I don't think anybody should be surprised that in an unclassified version, the intelligence communities protected sensitive information, particularly sourcing and methods, that it would have been irresponsible for them to have provided, to reveal that sort of information. And we rely on them, as we should, to make that determination for themselves in terms of what information was appropriate to put out publicly.
Sir, it was with high degree of confidence that the intelligence community said Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, which led to a disastrous war based on that false assessment. Do you think the public does not deserve to see the evidence in the case of Russia?
I don't think many people would doubt that the responsibility of the intelligence community to protect sources and methods. I think most American people understand that they have a responsibility to protect that information for the future. And I don't think that trying to compare what happened back in 2001 to this assessment is very relevant. The President, Secretary Kerry, as well as every other cabinet official that has spoken on this has spoken to the trust and confidence that they have in the assessment that was made by all 17 intelligence communities. All of them came to the same basic conclusion, that Russia interfered with the U.S. election.
That's about the agencies. What about the public? Should the evidence be relevant for the public to see, or should they just take the agency's word for it?
There is a fundamental responsibility not to reveal sources and methods. And we leave it to the intelligence community, when they make unclassified information such as this, to make that determination for themselves on what is appropriate to put out there. And I think you and everybody else can understand they have a responsibility to protect our nation's secrets so that they can continue to protect us going forward. Now, you heard the Secretary last week, very clear in his, firm admiration for the men and women of the intelligence community in the United States and the work that they do and the manner in which they protect the American people day in and day out. And there are hundreds of ways they do that never sees the light of day, that never gets a headline, and that's just fine with them. So I don't think. The Secretary believes strongly that they handled this matter in the appropriate way in terms of how it was analyzed, how it was presented, and how it was briefed to those who needed to see a deeper level of the information. Okay?
Can I just ask you about one thing, not specifically about this, but why is it that you say that what happened in 2001 is not relevant to this? I mean, it seems to me that past performance is an indicator of.
Yeah, Matt, but I mean, look, nobody's saying that there weren't mistakes made in 2000, 2001, but that was, 15 years ago? And a lot has changed in the intelligence community since then. We've learned a lot. We've become much more integrated. Back then, the intelligence communities, as you well know, were much more stovepiped. There wasn't the level of cooperation. We have moved on. We have learned a lot from those mistakes. I'm not suggesting that the intelligence community, that every bit of intelligence is always 100%. In fact, yourself, that oftentimes, and whether they are appropriately very careful about that, which makes it all the more remarkable that in this case, they were so uniform in their opinion and their high confidence in the role that Russia played.
But in terms of, is it, you're drawing a distinction between then and now because because the intelligence agencies have gotten bigger and better?
I think to paint them with the same brush that was used in 2001 is highly unfair and actually wholly irrelevant and inaccurate to the kinds of gains that have been made in intelligence gathering and analysis since then. I mean, we're talking 15 years.
Right.
I mean, should that?
Well, we were just talking about
should that be the
25 years
benchmark
with
for
Iran.
everything?
Well, I don't know. I'm asking you why you think it's not relevant. What happened
because
then is not
of what's
relevant now.
happened over the last 15
So
years.
the improvements and
Improvements in integration, coordination, analysis capability. I mean, we've
Okay.
moved on.
all right.
Okay.
I have another one.